Brian Yunza is here with us with Grimfest in Manchester. He's come all the way over from Los Angeles to host a screening of Reanimator and From Beyond, which we are screening today as part of the Manchester Gothic Festival. So it's fantastic to have you here.
Thank you.
We've been chatting a little bit about your career and it's been fascinating. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, and I was wondering to start with the two movies that we're screening today, which were, I think, the two feature films that you first produced, and I guess also Society, which was the first film that you directed, have become essentially cult classics and are movies that seem to their popularity seems to continue into the future. Does it surprise you, or is this exciting that this continues? And how do you feel about that?
Well, it would have surprised me when we were making them, but only because you can't imagine so much time going by then. But when we were making each one of those movies, personally, I thought we were making fantastic, classic hits. You know, there was never any idea that what we were doing was anything but something incredibly great. But then again, we were a bunch of horror fans making movies, and we were making what we thought would be great movies. With Reanimator, it was every bit of it always seemed on track to be something special. But when you're doing something for the first time, you often assume that's the way it's going to be. Since on Reanimator, I also was responsible for all the financing of it, there was never any problem with any politics with it. There was nobody to get approval from. Yeah. I approved. With From Beyond, there were already a company paying for it, Empire. And so now there was a little bit more politics involved. And we were shooting it in Italy, so now there was an Italian production manager or line producer, and that creates another kind of pull, another political pull.
Do you feel the film suffered at all from having that pressure from people above?
I think it reflects that. I think a film reflects, the financing of a film is the foundation of the building, and if it's not solid, everything changes as you build on it. And I think that with From Beyond, yes, I think that there's certainly, I think there's an element, there's a less cohesive feeling maybe to me to the whole of it, but also maybe I could also be exaggerating a little bit. It is what it is.
After you worked on, after you've made Society, you've worked all around the world as a filmmaker. You spent time in Spain, I know, for a start, and made a lot of movies with some well-known filmmakers in Spain and various other countries. I just wondered whether, because, you may say this is not relevant at all, but I wondered whether, because Society was more successful initially in other countries outside of the States, whether that drew you to go and work in other countries, or was it not connected?
Yes, it is, in the sense that in any country that maybe a movie you make works, you have more option. You may have an opportunity to use that success as a way to get financing for whatever project you're doing. But I think if you don't have the capacity to travel and to deal with people who maybe don't speak your language or certainly don't live exactly the way you do, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. And I grew up traveling, and I find myself quite comfortable in foreign environments, and most of the people I know don't. And that gives me the possibility of having the benefit of being able to be the American partner. And most people, they're uncomfortable with that. They don't quite know that it's difficult to not be at home.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do that on a extensive basis. But for me, I enjoy going places, and I enjoy other people, and so I'm not a good tourist. So if I want to see a place, I try to make a movie there.
Well, listen, thank you very much for being with us. And we shall have you to do a Q&A and present the movies later on. But thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.